This is Remix Report with your hosts, DJ JD and DJ J Spring.
Today's video brought to you by YourDJDrops.com, the nation's hottest DJ drops.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Remix Report. I'm DJ JD.
I'm DJ J Spring, and today we have special guests with us, Solidisco. What's going on, guys?
What's up? I'm Donnie. This is Matt. How's it going?
Great to have you guys on. You guys are definitely kind of blowing up right now, making the rounds in the clubs and getting that new disco sound out there. Do you guys call it new disco or disco house? Or
Disco house, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd like to think we have our own kind of sound, and but we like new disco too. We might be doing some stuff like that too.
So new disco is a different sound than disco house? Is that what I'm hearing?
It's like slow, like this more down tempo, like indie stuff is the
More synthesized based too,
yeah.
I would say. As opposed to the house, which is a little bit more sample based, I would say.
Cool.
That's actually, one of the questions we wanted to get into is really about the sampling. First of all, where do you guys go to kind of dig for samples? Do you guys go actually dig through vinyl, or is it all digital these days, or what?
A little bit of both, I would say. It's kind of like a by any means necessary type thing, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe you can enlighten. He's kind of the sample king.
A lot of late nights on YouTube, and a lot of the time we end up actually buying the vinyl because it's impossible to find any good quality MP3s of a lot of the songs we use. So
Yeah, we rip a lot of the vinyl ourselves, just because like the Amazon versions won't be the extended mix. You might want to take a certain part that might not be in the radio edit, because the radio edits are like 2 minutes 30, and the extended mix is like 6 minutes. And sometimes there's dubs and stuff that you can find some cool things on.
yeah,
Cool. So how many songs do you have to listen to before you actually find that sample, you know?
fun.
Oh my god!
I'd say
Some days it's 10 minutes, some days it's 10 hours. You know.
it's tough because we really like to use like a small random part in the song that really isn't like the hook or anything, and turn it into a whole, like create a hook out of like the little blip or something in the middle of the fifth verse or something. So like you can't just listen to a song for 10 seconds because 8 minutes into the song there might be that amazing part that we want to use. So
Yeah,
pretty much listen to the whole song. And
yeah, some of the songs are literally like a 2-second snippet that we just build the whole song around. And like you'll be surprised because like one of the songs is literally like when the song's fading out, like he says one line and we just took that line, we made a whole song out of it, and it's literally like that line for the entire song. Almost.
Yeah. So there's a lot of time invested in looking for the
So are you using multiple songs in each song, like samples from multiple songs to combine one song, or are you just using one sample for each song pretty much?
I'd say it's always one.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever done two
A couple.
per se, maybe. Have
Yeah.
we?
The only
I
thing
don't
when
think
we
so.
did that Rihanna remix, that was two different
Yeah,
songs
that's right.
put
There was
together.
2 different songs put together.
Which Rihanna song did you guys do?
We did a bootleg of We Found Love, which is actually kind of an interesting story because I would say that was like the mark of when we started really picking some steam up. We got lucky to get the We Found Love acapella in wave format. So I got really lucky because it was right when the record just cracked, you know. So me and him stayed up, I would say all night, and just said, we're going to do a remix. We're not going to leave the studio until it's completely done, you know. And we normally do like the day after listen. But like this night, we're like, no, we're not leaving until we're 100% sure it's done, you know? So we did it. We put it on SoundCloud. SoundCloud took it off right away. But the first time we ever had an issue with something like that. And it was kind of annoying because we had a lot of hits. Like we woke up, and like I woke up in the middle of the night, and I remember there was a couple thousand hits, and we uploaded like 4 or 5 hours before that. And we had never, that was already a record breaker for us at the time. And yeah, and then it became a bootleg that was just kind of just on like a Hulk share and like Zippy share and all those sites, like all those like bootleg file sharing sites. And all of a sudden, A-Track played it on Sirius XM, which was kind of like the building point to our relationship with him that led to Take It Back, which came out in Fool's Gold a little while ago, like I think 3-4 months ago. So yeah, that explains.
So did that get taken down because of the disco sample or because of Rihanna?
Just because of the Rihanna.
The Rihanna acapella. We actually changed the sample a lot in that song because the way that it was an open guitar loop, and there was just kind of like an open like riff. But then the drums, the snare drum comes in at the end, or there's something, I think it was a snare drum comes in on the 4th note, so there was an incomplete loop, and I actually recreated the loop using Melodyne, so it sounded perfectly like a guitar that just kept playing a full bar. I think something like that would be the way to explain it, and that was one of the challenges you meet when you kind of work with samples, is sometimes you want to make stuff sound as pristine as possible, but change it. So yeah, we do a lot of weird techniques to try to overcome issues, because we heard the loop and it followed her progression perfectly of how she sang, and it had to be it, and I wasn't going to be happy until it was there. So we ended up using Melodyne to like recreate the guitar playing, which is kind of crazy.
Awesome.
So you didn't do that day after listen before you released it, but how'd you like it when you actually did the day after listen after it was released?
We were happy
Yeah,
with it. We were happy.
That
with
normally
it.
never happens. That never actually
happens. Sometimes we struggle with songs for over a year. That Set Me Free song, that took us probably a year, I would say.
Yeah, that
to
was
finish.
really long.
Some of them are one nighter, and some of them are, we gotta change this, we gotta change that, and then the next day it was like, nah, we should change this, and you just struggle with it for a year, and it depends, man. I guess with sample-based production, I think you reach different problems, like with working with certain things that kind of like I don't know, you try to like, it's problem solving, and then the solutions sometimes take a long time, you know.
Let's I guess let's talk about disco house just in general for a second.
Sure.
We want to know how you guys actually got into it in the first place. What made you guys start up Solidisco together?
Actually, I was before I started DJing, I was a web developer, and my one buddy was really into music, and he had this what was the first thing? There was this Dimitri in Paris live at the Playboy Mansion from like 1999 or something, and it was all disco house, and it was ridiculous. I just never heard anything like it, and then I found like people like Cassius and Armand Van Helden from that, and it kind of like, I just always liked it ever since.
Yeah, for me, it was I would say just DJing, listening to music. I come from more of a hip hop background when I was younger, and then I heard Armin Van Helden and how he worked samples and kind of like a hip hop attitude. I would say of all the dance music producers, he has kind of like more of the hip hop attitude. You know, I felt like he was always a hip hop producer that made house music. You know, if that makes any sense, and at least that's the vibe I always got. So that's how I started into like dance music, was listening to him. And then I'd say that's how me and him started working pretty much. Yeah. We started doing sample-based stuff, and I took my approach to it, he took his approach to it, and that's kind of how it started. And yeah, now it's Solidisco.
Are you guys both from the same area?
Yeah. We're from Buffalo, New York, which is a pretty small town. There's not really a lot of shit going on at all.
Yeah.
We probably, when it comes to nightlife, like we're pretty much friends with everybody that's DJing here and stuff like that. But there's not a lot of people that are really into like music to the point where they take it too like seriously enough to where they're gonna like be producing records. So that's kind of how me and him linked up. It's just like you get to a point where it's just like there's got to be somebody here that also wants to be involved in music and like produce music and stuff like that and take it seriously enough to want to spend 5 days straight in the studio. And that's kind of how we became friends.
How does I think everyone knows Buffalo for the cold weather up there. How does that affect the club scene? Like, do you ever get like snowed out for like 3 weeks straight during the winter?
It's kind of weird. I'm kind of bugging out because last night I realized it was 55 out.
Yeah.
So I don't know about this global warming thing, but it might be real, because normally by Halloween when I was little, I remember it'd snow really bad, and Halloween I couldn't even wear my costume a lot of the time because there'd be like 2 feet of snow, and I'd be like, it'd be impractical to even wear a costume.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, man.
People love alcohol here, though, so it'd take quite the storm for people not to go out.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where like stuff is snowed out when I would like be DJing or something like that, and we DJ at the local clubs, and like sometimes I get snowed out like an hour or two before. Like sometimes it'd be nice out during the day, and then 8 o'clock comes around, all of a sudden there's a foot of snow on the ground. But the weird thing is that summertime is actually like people, since it's only nice here for like 3 months out of the year, people really go out and do other things other than drink during the summer. So I would say summer is actually the slow season here. In winter,
Really?
Yeah, people when it's cold out don't want to wait outside in clubs and stuff like that. So everybody's coming a lot earlier. People are trying to get in the club earlier, and they stay there because they don't want to deal with the weather. So I find that winter is actually a lot busier.
Wow. And are they in Buffalo? Are they as responsive to the house movement as other places, or no?
No, I would say part of the reason why we're so proficient, like why we're releasing so much music, is because there's not anything really going on here, and me and him are just kind of like we want to be playing certain shows, and there's not a lot of reception. Like people are just starting to figure out levels here, and like in most places, it's not socially acceptable to even play it. I don't think as a DJ, like if you're gonna play that type of music, So it's kind of yeah, it's kind of very behind.
That surprises me because Levels is it's made it to Planet Fitness Radio when I'm working out at the gym.
Yeah.
They play Levels. I just heard that the other day.
Yeah, it's
took a
really
little while, but
it's really behind here, and it's weird. A lot of people don't really understand dance music, but that's why we're in the studio all the time. Is because we want to be doing those type of shows where people are going to understand it and travel and play those type of shows.
well, with the boom in house music that's just happened over the last, has it been 2 or 3 years?
3 years, I'd say. Yeah.
3 years. Most of it was in like electro house, but I think it kind of it brought up house music just in general. But how has that affected you guys in the shows you play with the disco house? Do people come up to you asking for no beef and that kind of stuff, or do you get that a lot?
I think we are very particular about where we play and stuff like that. I think we want to play shows where people are going to understand what it's about, and I think with us, our music is special in a sense that like people don't. We've gone to places where we didn't think a lot of people would really understand it, but it works out really well. I think we found because the music is still it's modern, but it's just we use classic sounds. I think with like our formatting, like how we like arrange the songs is kind of modern, and everybody's about the drop now and all that stuff. And I think we kind of like have our own take on how we do that.
Yeah.
I would say.
Even if the DJs for us like play huge progressive songs, all of them sound so similar nowadays. And when we go on, it's like kind of a change of pace for a little. It's like it's different because most people don't know a lot of the songs, but I think it's different enough yet familiar that they can still have a good time.
I'd like to think it actually kind of helps us too that electro house and progressive house is blowing up so much because a lot of the blogs, I think it was Dancing Astronaut that posted that said like this is a refreshing take on like a lot of the music that we like because everything's starting to sound the same. They didn't say it exactly like that, but they've kind of implied that. I can't remember the exact wording, but I think it was when they posted one of our, I think it was Set Me Free, and they said that, and I thought that was kind of cool because we were curious too, like are people gonna really get it on like a mainstream level, and not that we really care that much. Like, we do the music because we love it. So,
are there disco house remixes of some of the bigger electro songs?
Sometimes,
yeah,
I'd say sometimes.
That's kind of what we try to do in our DJ sets because of the fact that most people don't know, other than like the Barbra Streisands and the really big disco house songs. Like we'll use like acapellas from bigger house songs and throw them over like the builds of our songs just to keep it a little familiar.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's kind of like the We Found Love remix too, like stuff like that we try to do. But I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of. I don't know if there's a lot of disco house remixes. I think there's a lot of new disco remixes. I think new disco's picking up a lot.
Yeah.
Especially in like Europe, I'm hearing. Some of my friends are telling me like new disco and even deep house is like really what's cracking in like London and stuff.
Yeah, I've definitely been hearing the deep house is definitely picking up a lot, and I mean there's similar sounds in a way, like definitely those classic samples and like kind of that disco bass. Just different ways of kind of bringing it out. So what do you see your audience as? I mean, obviously it's not like a mainstream open format audience. Is it more like college audience, or is it?
It's not really like
the
glow
hipster
sticks
scene
or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
It's more sophisticated, like people who.
I think it's more experienced house music listeners. I would say. I think for a lot of people, some of the people that we respect a lot have told us they really like us because it kind of reminds them of when house music was in its glory days. Which is really like kind of flattering, and not to compare us to the greats, but I'm just saying like it kind of brings back that sound that they had once, that originally got them to fall in love with house music before it had gone so mainstream. So I'd say more sophisticated house music listeners. We played with Cassian the other night, and I'd say like we had that same kind of vibe, like the indie dance kind of crowd.
Cool.
So how'd you guys come up with the Solidisco name?
That's a good question, actually. Nobody ever asks us that, and it's really funny because you guys pronounced it dead on right away, but some people come up to me and they say, like, the weirdest pronunciations, like Solidisco, just like I don't know how you can butcher that.
It's like one syllable, and it's like physically impossible.
It's weird, really, and then they stutter, and it's awkward, but the name actually comes from a Junior Jack bootleg record called Stupid Disco. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's like a 90s record, but that's one of my favorite disco songs. So, especially like the Dare Me bootleg, we always used to, that's one of my joints. So, we came up with it based on that name, Stupid Disco. We changed it to Solidisco.
Cool. So, you guys have been coming out with a lot of stuff recently. Hey Everybody, that's your new single. You want to tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's on Kitsune Records, which is actually a really legendary French house label. It's on a comp there. And yeah, it's doing pretty well at the moment. We got a shout out on the fader, which is pretty sweet. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, I guess anything else you want to add?
Yeah, and we also just came out with another EP about 3 weeks ago on Groove Tracks called Gotta Have It EP. We're also pushing that one.
Yeah, it's doing well. It's called Feeling is the B-side, which is my favorite. I'm a B-side guy.
Yeah.
And you guys recently did a remix for our friends, the Disco Fries.
Yeah, with Niles Mason, man.
Yeah, that was pretty epic.
I really like that guy's vocals.
Yeah,
so,
he's a great vocalist.
unbelievable. So
I really like the feel that you guys gave that song too. So
thanks.
Thanks.
It's actually cool because it's a little bit different during the builds. It's a little bit more. I guess it shows a little progressive influence because the original is kind of a progressive house song. It's a progressive, so it's cool. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you like it.
do you guys have? You're not on any particular record label, are you?
No, we're just floating around. We don't have like a set. We usually do a single based deal. I find a lot of the guys really good examples like Tommy Trash. I think like even though he's like an electro house guy, but like in terms of like how he does it, like he releases on a lot of different labels. I think that's kind of like the new model for artists in 2012.
So do you come out with a song and then do you have to shop it around? Is that what you do?
Yeah, we just see who's interested in it. We make music, and we send it to our friends and contacts, and somebody will usually pick it up, and then we release it, and it usually comes out a lot later.
So do you have to copyright it as soon as you come out with it before you start sending it out to labels, or do you?
It's on a per label basis.
Yeah, I think
we would never
send it to people that we trust.
Yeah.
We have good relationships with a lot of people just from talking to them and doing stuff for them. But I think that like nowadays in the digital age, it's kind of hard to just release something without the. I think like it's important. You can't really steal a song, I guess, without the artist like kind of coming out at you. And I think that a lot of labels we release on are credible labels. We know the people at them, or we trust the people. And I think the brand is important too. Like it's a Solidisco record if it's somebody random releasing it that doesn't produce this sound like it's our sound, if that makes sense. So
how does the whole sample and clearance aspect of this affect you guys?
Well, that's a good question, and I don't know how to answer that.
It depends. If the sample's a problem, like that'll be the songs that we give away for free.
Yeah, if we did something like the George Benson one, we'll turn your love around. I'm sorry. Then we just give it away.
Cool. Makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of the way the whole mashup scene was back in the days, and
yeah,
I think the way it's kind of been traditionally.
A bad thing to give away music too. We find that a lot of the records we give away do really well, and a lot of people know them because it's just you got more music out there, and it's easier for people to access. So
yeah, and the money's in the shows now, not the record sales.
Yeah,
very true. Are you guys looking to collaborate with anybody in the future, near future, or distant future?
Yeah, we have a couple of collaborations in the works right now, and we did a collaboration with our friend Bartos.
Yeah, the Dream of You record was actually collab with our friend Bartos, who owns that Groove Tracks record label, and that record actually did really well. It was on this record label Porno Star, which is Crazy Ibiza from they're pretty big DJs overseas, and they supported the record pretty heavily and did really well on Beatport, which is cool. So I think we got a lot of buzz for that.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, I think. Do you have anything else you want to?
Unless there's anything you guys want to.
Not really. I think we covered everything, man.
Yeah.
Anything else? Let us know.
What's the websites and social media links people need to know about?
Just go to solidisco.com, solidisco.com, and you can find everything on there. It's real simple and it's easy to use, and we like it like that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on and telling us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course.
Take it easy.
All right, you too, guys.
Remixreport.com